You trust him today, but tomorrow it might be too late. In 2026, small attitudes will say more than promises. It only takes one slip-up for your name to become the target of gossip and for your peace to end. Betrayal doesn't start big. It's born in the details you ignore. If you miss those signs, you could lose friendships, money, and time. Today you're going to see 8 clear signs so you're not caught off guard. Some are obvious, others seem like affection but hurt from behind. At the very end comes the most dangerous one, the one almost no one notices. It's when a gesture of help turns into a debt that traps you. If you recognize it in time, you save your reputation and your future. Before we start, leave your like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. No more delays. Let's get started. 1. Jokes that hurt disguised as affection. You know when his joke always lands on you and seems light but leaves a weight. He says it's just a joke, but the tone has changed. He interrupts you, corrects tiny details, and laughs when you get excited. Your victories become reasons for sarcasm and comparison. Little by little you start talking less to avoid becoming the target. This behavior is a boundary test. Today it's a joke. Tomorrow it's a story told behind your back to paint you as exaggerated. He uses the label of honesty to mask contempt. When trust cracks, he already has an audience and a narrative ready. And when the laughter dries up and gives way to silence and half-truths, the next step shows how omission becomes a weapon and catches you off guard. 2. Omissions and secrets that leave you out. Suddenly, he stops telling you about meetings, opportunities, and changes. He goes out with the group and only tells you afterward. He keeps details you need and only releases what benefits him. You start making mistakes due to lack of information and look disorganized. This distance isn't accidental. It's ground being prepared. The worst is when he keeps what you confessed and uses it at the right moment. He leaks a screenshot, twists a phrase, and says he didn't want to expose you. He promises secrecy, but trades your image for an advantage. The result is loss of credibility, doors closing, and blame falling on you. And if this already feels heavy, what comes next traps you in an emotional debt, when help comes with a price and the bill arrives with interest. 3. Favors that turn into debt. He helps you quickly, offers a ride, lends something, makes an introduction. It seems like care, but soon he reminds you of what he did, charges through jokes, looks, indirect comments. He brings up the help like a receipt in every conversation. You start saying yes just to not seem ungrateful. The bill grows and so do the requests. He puts you in situations that benefit him and squeeze you. If you say no, the labels come: cold, ungrateful, difficult. Your image gets shaped so he looks like the hero and you look like the problem. And when the favor turns into social blackmail, the next step shows how hidden competition tries to push you out of the way. 4. Silent competition and constant comparison. He measures everything: likes, invitations, compliments. He celebrates your mistakes without showing it and disguises jealousy with tough advice. He brings up other people's stories to diminish you without saying your name. He barely applauds when you shine, but gets excited when you're late. Little by little, you feel like you're in a race you didn't sign up for. This competition wears you out, kills focus, and creates fear of taking risks. You avoid sharing ideas. He collects yours and launches them first. When something works, he says he was already thinking the same, as if he had a share. When it fails, he distances himself so he doesn't get burned. And if this competition is already eroding your confidence, what comes next messes with your connections and starts isolating you without you noticing. 5. Social isolation and parallel alliances. He starts reducing your presence at gatherings, schedules things without including you, and normalizes it with a "it was last minute." He creates inside jokes with the group that you don't understand, and you end up arriving late to the conversation even when you're on time. He plants small frictions between you and key people, always under the mask of concern. One comment here, a doubt there, and done. You become the difficult one in the circle. When you realize it, the network that supported you is frayed, and you depend on him to stay connected. At the same time, he builds parallel alliances, testing who repeats what they hear and who pulls away if he pulls away. He bridges when it suits him and cuts when you need it, always controlling the flow of information. He retells stories emphasizing what weakens you, creating versions that sound plausible because he's already isolated you enough. The goal is simple: leave you without witnesses and with the feeling that complaining only makes it worse. And when the ground is set in this gray zone, the next move comes in. Small lies so well placed that they sound like truths that could have come from your own mouth. 6. Subtle lies and distortion of what you said. He doesn't invent from scratch. He swaps one word, shifts context, changes the tone of what you said. He uses phrases like, "That's what I understood," or "He admitted it himself earlier." And, just like that, the half-truth becomes fact in the listener's mind. He plays with ambiguities and makes you look confused when you try to correct it. Screenshots out of context, edited conversation clips, an off-the-record vent that appears at the perfect time. The effect is corrosive. You start doubting your own memory. When confronted, he demands precise examples, acts offended, says you're exaggerating, cornering your narrative. He apologizes for the impact, never for the intention, and comes out looking reasonable while you look oversensitive. In public, he stays cordial. In private, he plants new versions for the next useful leak. This way, your credibility gets spent before the real crisis even hits. And if this still seems like backstage games, what comes next happens in broad daylight. An exposure that turns your reputation into a stage for the real fall. 7. Calculated exposure disguised as transparency. When he sees your image is already weakened, the public concern appears. He leaks a partial screenshot, posts a vague vent, or narrates an episode without context, always with the tone of someone who just wants to clarify. He chooses the stage, the timing, and the words to maximize impact and minimize responsibility. He plants questions in the air, leaves gaps for the public to fill in his favor, and puts you in the defendant's position before any defense. The story stays open, and your silence becomes confirmation for those who already decided the verdict. Then comes the theater of moderation. He asks people not to attack, says he holds no grudge, that he learned a lot and wishes you well, while the storm is already formed. Your name becomes a trend for the wrong reason. Brands watch. Colleagues distance themselves to avoid association with the noise. It's a sophisticated lynching, with empathy hashtags and poetic justice likes. You try to respond, but any word becomes evidence against you because the narrative is already edited. And if this seems like the peak of low play, get ready. The next move normalizes breaking agreements, so the bigger betrayal seems like just an inevitable step. 8. Breaking small agreements to normalize the big one. Before crossing the final line, he piles up micro breaches that wear down your perception of what's acceptable. He delivers late and calls it an unforeseen issue, promises credit and forgets, leaks a private detail and treats it as a misunderstanding, agrees on a split, and shows up with a different proportion. They're millimeter cuts, always explainable, always forgivable, that train you to swallow bigger toads. Over time, disagreeing seems like exaggeration, and demanding accountability becomes drama. These micro-deviations work like a dress rehearsal. They measure your limit, how much the group tolerates, and the social cost of saying enough. When he sees no one reacts, he speeds up. He takes an idea and presents it as a partnership, closes a deal without including you, rewrites the project story using your effort as a background character. The betrayal finally fits the frame because the previous pictures were already crooked. I want to hear from you. Which part of this series set off the biggest alarm for you and why? Have you ever witnessed any of these moves happening behind the scenes, at work? Leave your story, your doubts, or a perspective we didn't cover here. Open comments, no script, just the way you lived it or see it. Your experience can help a lot of people recognize patterns that still go unnoticed. If this content added value to you, leave the like because it signals that it's worth continuing to dive deeper into this topic. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next valuable content. Always with direct scripts, practical examples, and applicable strategies. That way, you'll get the next chapters as soon as they drop and stay one step ahead.